another album by De La Soul here. Again, De La Soul, Daisy Age. You can see the album cover. In the inside, Special Treat. Again, the albums, I'm glad that they finally got straight with their record label, Tommy Boy Records, to release these albums. Again, De La Soul is Dead. Stakes is High is another classic album. A lot of people don't know, or you should know, that. Did you know that Jerry Stackhouse is in the Stakes is High video? Shout out to Jay Dilla, who did the beat. But if you're watching, again, De La Soul is Dead. Stakes is High. But again, shout out to True Joy. We know he passed away. But again, put in the comments, what's your favorite De La Soul song? What's your favorite De La Soul video? And again, if you're watching, we're going to play this song real quick. Ring, 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 what's your number? Hey, girl, how you doing? On Digging in the Crates Hip Hop Podcast. Again, Stakes is High. Keep it running. Here we go.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry I can't get through. Why don't you leave your name and your number, and I'll get back to you. Hey, how are you doing? Sorry I can't get through. Why don't you leave your name and your number, and I'll get back to you. Once again, it's another rap bandit, feeling an eye and I can't stand it. Wanna be down with the day glow, knocking on my door saying hey yo yo, knocking on my door saying hey yo yo. I got a funky new tune with a fly banjo. I can't understand what the problem is. I find it hard enough dealing with my own biz.
You know, now they got voicemail. Now people don't even have an answer machine. We still have it on our phones, but remember, you used to, try to do that playback and save that one call that you was waiting for on your answering machine, whether it was a breakup or whether it was somebody that you loved or somebody you was dating. Again, ring, ring, ring. Hey, girl, how you doing? Can I get next to you? Who's out there that you want to get next to? Here in Greensboro, the sun is shining. Should be a good weekend again. Shout out to Try It Old School. They got that R&B party going on. So if you ain't doing nothing and you want to get cute get your hair done, nails done, feet done, you just want to enjoy the sun, come out Saturday, R&B Saturdays at Try It Old School. Shout out to Try It Old School. If you're on Instagram, B-Wade Bop, Thurman, Val B, of course, my B-Wade, Big Dan. They be throwing it down, man, to Try It Old School. So them was my boys. But if you're looking for some grown and sexy, then I would suggest you be in the building again. Sneaker Ball is next Friday. But without further ado, I just want to get into some things, okay? Just want to get into a few things that has came up, okay? First of all, if you feel free to comment or join us. First of all, when we look at sports, okay, and again, this is strictly fact, and it's also, somewhat of an opinion. Historically, African Americans, when it comes to sports, we have led the charge in football, basketball, certainly baseball's on the come up, but just football and basketball in particular, and other sports, track, you got Jesse Owens, you got Joe Louis, you got Muhammad Ali, you have, you got Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, you got Satchel Paige, you got Jackie Robinson.
Pressure on Jackie Robinson was enormous. The Dodgers owner, Branch Rickey, who took the risk of hiring the first black player, warned Robinson he would be held to the highest standards imaginable.
I'll certainly do my version. You got Shaquille O'Neal, You got David Robinson. You got LeBron James, of course. You got Arthur Ashe. Now, with that being said, sports is important. You know, everybody played Little League baseball, Little League football, or whatever the case may be. Me, myself, I grew up playing soccer, played football. I mean, I didn't play football, but I played basketball. And that's just one part of it. And it's proven fact that we have excelled in the world of sports. You cannot deny that. Now, sometimes we get this stigma is that's all we can do is play sports. I remember, I can't remember who the young lady was, but told LeBron James just shut up and dribble the ball. Okay, and there's a problem. The problem I have with that is that we're more than just athletes. We're more than just entertainers. We're doctors, lawyers, mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, entrepreneurs. But what I'm here to talk about today is that typically when you have African Americans that get involved in the media, whether it's news reporting, whether it's calling the weather, whether it's just news, whether it's covering a story, whether it's writing, but in particular, I think that the biggest problem that I have is that when African Americans add value to certain shows, okay, and I'll get to the show I'm talking about in a minute, I have no problem an athlete going from playing a sport, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's tennis. I have no problem from them going from calling sports, playing sports, to being an anchor on air. I have absolutely no problem. We all know that typically most of your shows are dominated by, Caucasians, right? But the problem that I have is that the show in particular, Undisputed, and Shannon, if you're watching, again, you can see me on my D. I'm a big fan of yours, and here's why. When you're on the air, I watch your show every morning, every chance, and also as an educator as well. I went to an HBCU, teach at an HBCU, and I'm proud to say that I'm at a historically black college.
It definitely would help, Skip. If you get somebody, can you imagine if guys like, say, Anthony coming out or Carmelo when they came out had gone to historically black institutions? It would definitely change. Because, Skip, before they integrated, that's where, if you look at the first group of Hall of Famers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that's where they went. They went to the Maryland Eastern Shores and the Gramblers and the Southern and Texas A&Ms.
And so we have a wonderful journalism department there. And they talk about, they have sports journalism, they have news reporting, all types of programs. And so the reason why I'm on here is that I'm kind of upset the fact that Shannon Sharp got rudely interrupted by Skip Bayless. That shouldn't happen. I think that if you, so for clarification, do they mesh together? I would say, yeah, they're really funny. And I know that there's antics on air and off the air. But when I see the lack of respect, that I'll give you an example. So we all know Tom Brady's the GOAT. If you think he's the GOAT, that's fine. If you don't think he's the GOAT, that's good. And so Shannon goes about the business on several occasions on his show criticizing Tom Brady, which he has every right to. He played football. He played way before Tom Brady was there. So now he's on the other side of it where he's commentating, okay? Now, let's not make it a race issue. Of course, Tom Brady happens to be Caucasian. And so every time Shannon Sharp criticizes Tom Brady. Skips gets the feelings. Oh, he's better than you. He's always defending as to that he doesn't make a mistake. Speaking of Tom Brady.
You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got three Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than
way
you.
Better.
Yeah, what did that?
But again, the problem that I have is that Shannon adds a lot to that show. He reminds me of, again, he talked about his grandmother a lot. He talks about him and his brother, how they grew up. Of course, he went to Savannah State, which is the HBC, which I'm, again, proud of. He adds value to, you can tell that the way he grew up, he hung around his grandmother. When I was growing up, I wanted to spend time with my grandmother. And sometimes you're in spaces where you talk about, you hear things like my grandmother used to say, well, grandson, you going where grown people is, so, stay in a kid's place. And I understood that. But these places that I would go to, knowing well I wasn't supposed to be there, and I would just listen to the older people talk, our elders. And they would talk about life. They would talk about music. They would talk about things they were growing up, and I understood that, and I internalized that for example, if you ever got somebody in your family who tells you funny stories, it's probably your grandmother, your uncle, and they say stuff, or my grandmother used to say stuff to make you cry, and then she would say stuff to make you laugh, okay? Things like, grandson, you shitting in hot cotton, stuff like that. I remember one year I played football and I got hurt, and I told the coach, hey, look, I'm hurt. He said, well, Hooker, I don't think you hurt. Ain't nothing wrong with you. So I said, well, you know what? Wait till I go home and tell my grandmother, which I called her Granny. Went home and told her, and she basically said, that Jerry Curl Negro can't be talking about my grandson. And so to bring it back full circle with Shannon Sharp, again, it's Shannon Sharp if you're watching, if you're not watching. You add a lot of value to the show. The way you talk, the way you cover things. Even though you like LeBron, you call LeBron the GOAT. I never see you get real defensive when he talks about how bad LeBron James is. But it's just a lack of respect, disrespect, that I think that Skip has towards Shannon. Now, do they mirror each other? I think that for the time that they've been on the show, I think they kind of match each other intensity. But again, that's what critiquing these players or talking about real life issues.
This might be the
fade off.
I would never say that.
Never.
I would never say that about Skip
People
Bayless.
are saying.
I don't think they understand the power of Skip Bayless.
Yes.
I don't think they understand. Skip Bayless will find a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Skip Bayless will.
He's gonna find his cheese.
Well, he will continue to do his thing. But Shannon being available is that's a narrative shifter for a place. That's a potential massive asset to a platform that maybe wants to launch, which as experiencing the space a little bit from a business standpoint a few months back.
And so, speaking of the Hamlin situation, Skip, I commend you for not going on air that day, just so you can kind of process, because once you once were a football player, and it should been about Darren Hamlin and the issue with the Bills. Okay. For example, I know a player named Daryl Johnson who played at A&T. He played for the Bills. So, because I knew him, I would be a little bit heartfelt for him and his family had that happened to him. But Skip goes on air the next day and basically saying, hey, he's basically giving an explanation as to why, and hopefully we'll have it on the show. So he gives an explanation as why he didn't come on the air. Now, while he's explaining it, and then he says, well, I hope Skip takes the tweet down. Skip says, well, I'm not taking the tweet down. Nobody else had a problem with it. Well, if they did, then why would they, why wouldn't they say something to you? My point is, he's sitting up there, Shannon's sitting up there trying to talk about the issue, and Skip continues to interrupt him. that's disrespectful. I mean, Skip, if you interrupted me in a casual conversation, I'm gonna have something to say about it. But we may do this off the air, and so you can clearly see the frustration with Skip, who's simply trying to pay homage or give his thoughts on what happened that day. I saw what happened that day. I was beside myself. I was just like, wow, how do you continue to play a game when you have somebody that's down there that's grasping for life? Now, I want to give a huge thank you to the NFL by responding and helping out. Even I don't care if that player was white or black, just on their response of taking care of him and making sure that he was coherent, that his health was in check, and also all the players that kneeled. But Skip, how could you want a game to continue when somebody's down there and they're just lifeless? I can't see how you can go on, or the NFL could go on. But again, Skip, you go on disrespecting Skip by telling him that he's trash, and that Tom Brady was a far better player. That's ridiculous. They're NFL brothers, whether they're black or white. They play different positions. Shannon Sharp was a tremendous tight end at Denver. He was a tremendous tight end when he went to Baltimore. Had a good career. Came from Savannah State. But I just don't like the speak out against certain things. I think it's a huge problem. We all know that there's inequalities in any sport for anybody. Not just African Americans, just for anybody. But what I would like to say is that, Shannon, I think you're one of the greatest hosts. I commend you. I would love to sit beside you and have a conversation about social issues, about injustice, and just have what I call front porch conversation. I would love that. I mean, I watch you pretty much every morning if I can, besides teaching. I even take some inspiration from you in terms of the way you talk. You just make up stuff that I'll be just on the floor, and so I take that into the barbershop that I go to, and we have those conversations. They call me coach in the barbershop, and I literally go to the barbershop to stir up an argument because my grandmother did it, my grandfather did it, and I think that people need to live life and have some fun and have some joy. But the lack of disrespect from Skip Bayless, and I'll say this, why does Shannon Sharp have to do a buyout? Why can't Skip do a buyout? Why does Shannon Sharp have to leave? Now, Shannon, I understand if you want to leave because it's the best thing. As my grandma used to say, if you ain't got nothing nice to say about somebody, don't say nothing at all. And so I just think it's disrespectful to Shannon and other. It don't matter if it was Skip Bayless. It don't matter if it was Mark Schreiber. It don't matter if it was Stephen A. Smith. It don't matter. It's just a lack of respect. And I think I remember when J.J. Redick said something in reference to Stephen A. Smith about him going to Winston-Salem State. HBCU is a great place to get an education, whether you go to a PWI or you go to an HBCU. But an HBCU is a great place to get an education because you get home cooking, as Shannon would say. Hey, my grandmother got that bowl of oatmeal and some milk, and hey, you better eat that oatmeal, or you better eat that bagel, or you better eat them pancakes, And so, again, Shannon, I hope one day in the near future or tomorrow I can get a phone call from you, or a tweet, or a DM, bruh, because you funny. You add a lot, even your impersonations. Skip Bayless. Your animation on the air and off the air, I know that you're funny. I mean, if you came in the barbershop and we just have a good old fun time. So Shannon, again, love to meet you one day, bruh. As you can see, my studio, I got a small studio. I got interns from the HBCU, and they do the work. So if you're watching and you're listening, bruh, DM me. You can follow us on Hook and Mac Show, and I would love to be in your presence. I mean, too bad I can't come on the show with you guys before you sign off, but if I can get an opportunity to go get in the Shannon Sharp Shay Shay room, invite me. All you gotta do is DM me or email me at hookerandmcadoo@gmail.com. Bruh, you funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is officially my last day at work. After 7 years, the train stops for Shannon Sharp and Undisputed right here.